We are in the 6th season of Via Mia, and it wouldn't be me if I didn't bring at least one guest per season who works with and for animals. Horse whisperer. Doesn't that sound intriguing? It does, at least for me. Why whisperer and why horse? We will hear shortly today on the Via Mia Show.
The Via Mia Show is sponsored by the following people.
Recording, rehearsal space, voiceovers, video editing in New Westminster. For more information, fiascobros.com. Cuts and colors in Uptown New Westminster. We welcome our stylist, George of Salon Caliente. For appointment, call 604-544-5104. Private investigations, security and alarm systems since 1972. For more information, call 604-251-2121. Makeup services for television, movie, and photo shoots. For more information, visit victoriawan.com.
Horses mean anything to more than anything to her, and that's why I brought her today on the Via Mia Show. That really attracted me, the fact she works with animals, especially horses. We never had that. And her name is BRIANNA FREWIN, a horse whisperer. Hello, BRIANNA.
Mia, how are you?
So nice to have you here, and thank you so much for driving such a long distance, because as far as I know, your ranch is far. Is it Aldergrove?
No, it's in Langley, BC. Just not too far from the Sumas border.
Okay, well, it was a long drive for me when I drove there, so that's what I felt like.
A little over an hour. I will say this though, coming back, Vancouver's a beautiful city.
Yes.
But I feel like a fish out of water here.
you don't come to this area very often.
Not very often, and I'm telling you, the looks that I got when I was walking down the street with my chaps and spurs, I think people thought it was Halloween.
Yeah, you're not. Well, it is.
You're getting close.
Very, not far from there. Horses are, to me, probably the most beautiful animals. To me, they are. And still, I have to say, as much as I love animals, I'm a big animal lover, I have more respect towards that animal than to anything else. And that kind of respect, what I'm talking about, borders with a fear. Is that normal for everybody?
It's total normal to have a little bit of fear for an animal that's much larger and more powerful than you, because it's a little bit of self-preservation. It's very normal to have that instinct. Yeah. However, I think the reason why we are drawn to horses is because even though they're so powerful and so large and so heavy, they are so gentle. They are so passive. And I find that, you know, with most horses, they're always going to want to try to help you. And that's why I think a lot of horses are used as like therapy for healing, or have been associated with terms like music or freedom or...
Really? Well, you know, you see horses that way, because I don't know anybody who understands them as much as you do. You are with them 24/7.
Pretty much.
You know, okay, so it's not any secret, I'm going to reveal it right now, that I went to visit BRIANNA on her ranch, a beautiful place. There are a few horses that are yours, but there are a few horses that are not. Who those horses belong to? Because people bring it to you, obviously.
Some horses come in for training. They either are green and are here to learn, or are there to learn for their riders to ride or for a competition. And some of them are also just people that have their own horses and need a place for their horses to stay.
Okay,
so
that's
they come
what
and
it
stay
is.
at my place.
I thought that you're there to, like I said, a horse whisperer, training them, bringing...
I have a couple of them. I got 4 that are mine. One of them is the one that you rode, Little Gwynny. And I have 3 other boarders that are there just to board, and 2 of them both take lessons with me to help learning how to ride. And then I had another 2 that are both sales horses that I took in, started them, trained them, competed with them. One of them sold, and the other we're still working on. And he was Maestro. He was the horse that actually has one eye. He only had one eye, and when I first got him, I actually thought he would be quite a difficult case. because he would have a lot of trust issues, especially like trying to turn him to the left or do anything on his left side because he can't see you, right? You would, if you didn't talk to him when you walked up to him and just kind of touched him on the side, he'd go, oh my God, what was that?
Oh my.
And he was actually, he really surprised me. He was so willing. He was nervous, but he was so willing that this person he's gonna let this person on his back and start asking him to do stuff that he normally wouldn't even do on his own.
But you're not supposed to come to the horse from the back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, riding, right?
Oh.
That's how I do a lot of my pre-training. Like if a horse is not saddle broke yet, meaning rideable, I do a lot of stuff on the ground first because I really don't want to kiss the dirt unless it's absolutely necessary.
I don't think I would. It doesn't matter what would be the reason.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I was watching you very closely those few hours when I was visiting you on your ranch. How you work with horses, how you work with your students, because you have people helping you or students, people you train.
Well, a lot of the things that I do, it's helping people helping horses.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, it's not people with horse problems. It's horses with people problems. People they don't understand yet, and I'm kind of I see myself as trying to be a translator.
So
to help the two of them move on, find that connection.
You answered that question plus another one what I was about to ask, so you're a little bit ahead of the time. So I'm going to ask you, hold your horses for a while.
I'm chomping at the bit, can't help it.
No, but that was good because my question was about to be that who really needs the training more, horses or people?
It varies between the combination that shows up on my doorstep. Right? Sometimes it's a green horse that knows nothing or has had a rough past and has some baggage.
Why do you call it a green horse?
Green horse meaning like it's new, it's fresh, it's untrained. It doesn't really know much. It's an untrained horse, and as a horse gets trained, they become more seasoned. Right? It's like in the spring, everything's green, everything's new, and then it turns yellow, red, brown as they get seasoned in their training.
I always thought that probably the people should be the ones to be trained and guided what to do.
Well, here's the thing too, right? I can take a horse and train it to the nines, but it wouldn't matter if I sent the horse back to the owner and they kept doing the same stuff they're doing before.
So do you work with both of them, horse and owner?
I try to. I always encourage the owners and try to get them involved, because it's great that I can work with the horse. However, they're the ones that are going to be handling the horse on a 24/7 basis when I send the horse back.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So if they can continue the training, then only once in a while I'll kind of just go back and make sure everything's okay, or if they have any hiccups, they can call me, I can come back and help them either at their place or they can bring the horse back. It's very rare though if that happens, because most people, they see that the training works and they stick to it because they care about the horses.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, and that's most of the people that's all people want to do. They just love the sport and they love the horse, and they want to learn what they can.
There is something I always wanted to know when I call a dog whisperer horse. You're a horse whisperer, but I never saw you whispering to them. What's going on here?
Whispering is that's a bit of a myth. I'm not actually whispering in their yard. I do this, make me look good.
Yeah, well, and I really watched you closely. There was no whispering going on there.
No, there's not. It's a lot of horses communicate to each other through body language, sign language, intent, right? And in horse training, what I have learned is to read that intent, to read their body language and try to mimic it into a way. That's why, like, I do a lot of what's called natural horsemanship, because we use training that comes naturally to the horses, using same techniques that their mother has, that the dam they call it, of the colt that the mares teach. Or pardon me, sorry. The mother. I can talk. The dam has taught the colt from the day it hit the ground.
Okay.
And so.
Well, you know, there are so many questions I need to ask, and at this point, because I really like those pictures you sent me, and I went through them, and I'd like, can we share that with the people?
Sure.
So here's the one. Are you training the horse?
I am. This is a 2-year-old stallion. He's a Trakehner, warm blood. And here I am just playing loose with him, in the round pen, usually what I like to do before I start trying to get on them and put a saddle on, if they're really fresh and like really, you know, bucking or jumping around, I can tell they're full of P&V, especially when they're little like that, when they're young, when they're babies.
And we have another one here.
Oh, this is a paint mare that I've started. She's a 5-year-old quarter horse. I got her.
Picture.
Thank you. I got her last February. She did everything in the book. She reared, she bucked, she slammed other horses against the wall. She did everything. But she's actually turned out to be really good because
with you.
Yeah, no, she's actually turned out to be a really good horse because, you know, about 4 or 5 months later, I've taken her in rodeo performances, and I also teach my beginners on her.
Well, and is this you?
This is me. Yeah, I'm also, even though I don't look it right now, I'm also an English rider. This was at a cross-country event in Maple Ridge, and that's one of my mares named Abby. And yeah, no, it's us going over a fence in in a stadium event.
Well, this looks sad to me. What did you do to the horse?
I'm too busy laughing my butt off because that's why I was embarrassed, because I'm like, oh my God.
What did you do to him?
This is the 2-year-old again, and we were playing around in the sand arena, and of course he worked up a bit of a sweat. And when that happens, they get a little itchy. So what he did is I turned my back for a second, I went to get a drink, and he decided to drop down in the sand and give himself a nice sand bath.
Okay.
So he's rolling in the dirt.
Okay.
And really enjoying himself.
Well, I remember this one. Well, you can say anything you want about this, Brianna. I was watching you doing this, and it feels to me that this is painful to do this to a horse.
No. You know what? You can have a piece of string in a horse's mouth that can be a torture device in the wrong hands.
Well, and what is this?
This is a shank bit. This is called a shank bit. And I use this to help communicate what I want with the horse. And with that bit, I'm telling you, my fingers are finger light. Yeah. I'm barely touching the horse's mouth the whole time. Okay, it's just as a tool. I wouldn't have, it's only for sensitivity and for communication, right? All it is like, it's like an extension of my arm. It's like my spur, right? My spurs aren't meant to kick the heck out of the horse. Yeah. It's meant to communicate to the horse better, right?
And this was my first encounter, I have to say that, and kind of was not very, very comfortable, but you gave me probably the lightest kind of horse that it didn't mind me on his side.
Yeah, no, this is Gwynnie. She is an absolute sweetheart. She's very forgiving of people making mistakes, and she's just kind of like, yeah, okay.
What kind of mistake did I make? Just sit on him, or probably sit on her? That was a mistake, right?
No, not at all. You did just fine on her. She was great. You were a bit nervous, but once you started just kind of going with it.
Well, I have to say that it was my first time. It's you know, like I'm saying, as close as I was, this is probably the closest I've ever been to the horse. But thank to you, you were great. I have tons of questions. Please don't go away. Stay here. We're gonna see again and hear Brianna more after the break.
The Via Mia Show is sponsored by the following people.
Recording, rehearsal space, voiceovers, video editing in New Westminster. For more information, fiascobros.com. Cuts and colors in Uptown New Westminster. We welcome our stylist, George of Salon Caliente. For appointment, call 604-544-5104. Private investigations, security and alarm systems since 1972. For more information, call 604-251-2121. Makeup services for television, movie, and photo shoots. For more information, visit victoriawan.com.
Interesting guest today on the Via Mia Show, Brianna Frewin, who is a horse whisperer, somebody who works with animals, and I really love having you here because, like I said, I like animals, I like being close to them. And the horses, I'm a little bit distant, like you saw. You gave me to be close to one of your calmest horse, and I appreciate it. I have to say I was a little bit surprised how how high I was sitting when I sat on that horse. It was probably the highest you have, no?
No, she's actually my littlest.
Littlest?
She was my littlest horse. She was only, the horses are measured in something called hands.
Well, I wanted to ask, I didn't see you going with meter on there, so it's by hands?
It's by hands, and it's about 4 inches to a hand, and it's like this. And they're always measured up to their withers, basically the tops of their shoulders at the bottom of the neck, and that's where they're measured.
And this one was high?
She was about 14.3 hands, 14.3.
And what's the highest you have?
The highest that I have is 17.2.
Oh, 4 more hands. Wow.
Tack on a few
so I'm
feet.
glad you found me that one. We were looking at those images, and I still don't understand the part that you're putting in a poor horse's mouth or whatever they have. And to me, I felt uncomfortable. Do you have it here as a prop? Can we see it?
Sure.
Because if you don't mind, which part was going on?
Yeah, so this is a Western bridle. The horse's ears are through here, and then their nose comes down here, and this is called the bit, and this hangs in their mouth. This is more of an advanced bit that I only use for, say, performances and whatnot, and for flash. But because here, see how we have a bit of this is called a shank, where it goes right from where the corner of the mouth is down here. This gives you extra leverage to communicate with the horse, so I can be even a little bit more sensitive. All of a sudden, having to stop the horse like this turns into this.
So not too much. She doesn't feel it as a...
No, she feels it, and it's very, very, very subtle, very light. I barely even
think
touch
that
her.
sensitivity, that's the lot that you have to teach other people, not to be abrupt.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And it's taking your time and really trying to listen to what your horse is telling you. And there are definitely times where you must be strong. Like if you have sometimes horses, they will be like obstinate, especially some youngsters. They're like teenagers or toddlers.
Yeah.
And they decide, no, I don't feel like it today. So sometimes you'll have a horse that'll think like, they'll be a little aggressive even.
Yeah. Well, right. While you're introducing us to the things that I don't see on a daily basis, why can't we carry on? You brought a lot of other things.
Yeah, sure. I brought a few more things. This other one that I brought is another bridle. It's a little bit different though, because this is a Western bridle. Like I'm dressed in a cowgirl, it's more for chasing cows, rodeos. And this is an English bridle. From the picture that you showed earlier, this is a bridle that I would use for jumping or for dressage.
Or races?
Or racing,
yeah.
Absolutely. Right? Good.
Okay.
And I got a couple other things too.
Brianna, I'm really interested to see that horseshoe, because don't tell me that it really belongs to a horse.
Yeah, no, this belongs to that 17.2 hand horse that I told you about earlier. He's a Clydesdale. He's 11 years old, and he was just given to me a couple months ago. He was his old owner just couldn't take care of him anymore, and I'd known the horse for a while, and he's a 1,500-pound puppy dog.
1,500. So he actually gave it to you?
Yeah. No, he called me and said, I can't take care of him anymore. Sure. Can you take him? And I said,
okay.
Sure. And they said, great, because he's already in your corral at home.
Brianna, if you get a kick from the horse with this on,
with that,
how long you can still live after that?
Well, it depends. If they kick you in the leg, and it depends if they get you bang on, and it's just bad time, wrong place, wrong time. If they hit you bang on, this would break your leg easily.
What about
if it just nicked you? If you got hit by this in the chest or in the head, you would die probably instantaneously.
Okay, how many times have you been kicked?
Oh, a handful. A handful of times. Luckily, I've never had a bad wreck. I've never had a really bad accident. There was one time, I was quite young. I was still learning. I think I was about 12 years old. And I was bathing a horse in a wash rack, and something spooked him, and he reared up and struck out at the hose because he thought the hose was going to eat him.
Oh, no.
He meant to get the hose, but he got me instead, and he just grazed me right here. And even though he just grazed me, he still sent me back about 10 feet.
I believe that.
Knocked the wind out of me.
Well,
but I was fine, thank goodness.
That was an accident, but when that happens, how can How can we prevent ourselves not to happen?
Read your horses. Read your horses.
How can you read him?
Well, for example, if I have a horse that's got his head low and his tail is relaxed and he's got one hind foot kind of resting or like cocked, like you know how like you cock a hip when you're really relaxed? Same thing that horses do. Then obviously that horse has got no problem. He's not sweating. But if you have a horse who's got eyes as wide as dinner plates, his head straight up in the air like a giraffe, his tail swishing or being held up high, and I'll tell you this too, when horses have that kind of body language, the next thing they do is they start dancing around if they can't run away. Because they're flight animals, right? So there's lots, again, reading their intent, reading their body language. Like you can tell when something's kind of relaxed and you can tell when something is gonna try to jump ship.
You know, when I was bringing the horse to a ranch, when you gave me your horse to kind of guide and lead, do they have any thinking? What do they think about us? By standing beside them, yeah.
Well,
I'm sure they think something.
They do think. I would say that if they would think like, okay,
well, if
this is my master, this is my job, time to go do it. And if you have a kind master, like with my horses, when they look at me, they see me coming out to the ranch, and they're always at the gate like, pick me, let's go, let's do something, because they know that I will always be fair to them. I'm a firm leader. Because
I wasn't new to them, so I saw the rolling eye there, and that's why I was probably not comfortable, because I'm thinking he thinks of something. I know that.
Well, if you're a nervous person and you're a beginner and you first end up in a stall, which is something that, you know, please, if you're new, don't go into the stall without someone that knows what they're doing. And I find the horses that are used to beginners, like I said, I would never put you with a horse that would do anything wrong. I'm with a horse that's normally patient, that's used to beginners, and she probably took a look at you and kind of went, "Oh, okay, somebody new. What's she gonna be like to me? What's she gonna be like to me?
Yeah.
Depending how she is with me is gonna depend on how I am with her."
Yeah, exactly. So we've been talking a lot about Brianna's ranch, but you haven't seen much, and we came to see you and we shot a little bit of video, very short one. So let's take a look at the video with your routine, and maybe you can guide us verbally.
Sure.
This is it.
All right, so that's us in the barn with that little paint Dawn that I told you about, just at lunchtime. And this is us with Winnie, just before we saddled her up for a ride. And, you know, and see how she's got her ears kind of sideways, she's relaxed.
And this is your very strange routine. I didn't understand this.
Oh, this is something called like a bit of a spin. I'm just moving her shoulders around, because the shoulders are the center of gravity for on a horse. If you can move their shoulders around, then you got control.
And this is Rick. Took him for a long time to be convinced, but he did that. This is the interesting part. Do you remember this one?
Yeah. Well, he kept looking down, and to keep a horse going, it's like when you drive a car, right? You got to look over the steering wheel and keep your foot on the gas pedal.
Yeah,
and you got to look up and then close your legs around the horse, and to push them forward. And then he got the hang of it, so here he's moving along a little bit better.
Well, he was a little uptight at the beginning, but I think he's doing very well here.
Yeah, he did fine. I think he enjoyed it too.
Yeah, he did. This is a good shot.
Yeah, and this is him hopping off ever so slowly.
That was not easy part to get on and get off. I like this job.
Grooming is something we do before and after every ride.
Okay, this I'd like to know. Why do they have covered eyes?
This is called a fly mask. In the summertime, the bugs.
Flies.
Yeah, the bugs can be nasty on the farm in the summer at times. So we just throw these on their faces so that they're more comfortable.
Doesn't it bother them?
No.
That they have covered?
No, it's way nicer rather than having the bugs go in their eyes and their ears all the time.
Well, that's true. They can't really do anything with their leg, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, they have the hair in front of their face is called a forelock, and that's what that forelock is for, is to get the bugs out of their eyes. But we find the masks, they just help out.
Brianna, before I let you go, which I don't want to do that, but the time is kind of pushing us, I have a question. I saw you racing a horse. How you see this? You are an animal lover. How are you doing with this fact term? Are you against or are you supporting races, horse races?
Like Hastings racing? I'm not against it, but I'm not in total favor of it, because I find that they train the horses so young before their own joints can develop and pardon me. Yeah. But before their joints can develop, before they can fully mature, they race them very young. So therefore, a lot of horses have a lot of trouble when they're older, they have a lot of lameness issues.
Well, I had the reason to ask this. I remember it was a long time ago, and I still live in Europe, and I attended horse races where the horse right in front of me was covered by some white sheet. And we all knew, and then I was the only one screaming. I didn't know what was happening. That was the last race I went to. It's just I don't want to discourage anybody, but it was me. And then I wanted to know your opinion, how you see
I
this.
think it's very cutthroat. A lot of the times at the races, it's not a nice place for a horse to live. There are the exceptions of a few trainers that do know what they're doing and are good, but a lot of the times the horses are not. They're seen as merchandise. They're seen as to be
but
used
I wonder,
for money. So they'll run them in the muddy season.
I wonder because you said that technology it's much better, the techniques and the medical treatments, it's advanced.
Oh, unbelievably advanced.
So does the horse have to be shot after the injuring?
A lot of the time, like for a broken leg, for example, the reason why they put horses down almost every time a horse breaks a leg is because of the recuperation. Horses aren't like us. Like if we break a leg, we can put our foot up on a table and keep off of it. Horses, they can't. They keep moving. They'll keep breaking it, and they'll always be in pain. They'll never be able to move that well again. So at that point, they usually will.
Well, I don't like to really finish on this negative note. I wish there would be something nice. My fault, I didn't mean it, but you said it's progressing, it's not as it used to be.
No, there's lots of new rules that are up there against animal cruelty.
Yeah.
SPCA goes in a lot, make sure everything's cool.
We don't have any contact really on you. I know you have a Facebook, so if anybody would like to Google and find Brianna and talk to her or do anything in terms of the horses in the future, Brianna Frewin on Facebook, she's accessible, right? So thank you very much, Brianna. Before you go, I'd like you to sign the cup for the season, like everybody else. Okay, it's not easy to sign a cup, but you have to do it. It's our routine.
Okay.
Thank you for everybody watching us. There was Via Mia today with Brianna Frewin, a horse whisperer. I will see you again next time.
Thanks, Mia.